Welcome to Edu Life.
And winter.
Episode 9, where the magic happens. Hey guys, it's Lindsay here, and I have some helpful tips to share with you guys. But first off, who here is stressed out? Who here is anxious? Who just needs some time to relax? Well, this week I want to share with you guys some helpful tips on how to relax. Okay, so some of the helpful tips. Number 1, disconnect from your phone. 1 second, Snapchat! Look at this Facebook post. Did you see what she wrote about me? Research has proven that not only getting that text message from your mom or text message from your girlfriend or boyfriend saying, don't do this, do this. Yes, that can be stressful, but it's actually constantly checking your social media that can be one of your biggest stressors. So take some time for yourself and actually disconnect for a while. Helpful hit number 2. So we all like to listen to music, don't we? At least most of us. And did you know that listening to music can help relieve anxiety, stress, and chronic pain? So who wouldn't want to listen to music? And they say 30 minutes of music, preferably classical or relaxing music, can help alleviate these issues. In addition to listening to music, what's even better is if you play an instrument. Now don't worry, you don't have to be the next Mozart, but just playing the drums, strumming on a guitar can help alleviate these issues even better than listening to music. And the third helpful hint for you guys, this might seem a little bit silly, but hug it out. Giving a hug to someone you trust and know releases oxytocin, which helps you relax, lowers your blood pressure, and helps reduce anxiety. But don't go hugging random strangers. This can have the opposite effect. You can raise your blood pressure and make you more stressed out. So hug it out with someone you know. But if these options might not work for you, the U of A has got your back. Whether visiting a counselor at the Health and Wellness Center or at our own faculty at the USS office seeing a counselor, and even checking out the Ed Psychology Clinic.
Hey everyone, this week I'm here with Dr. David Chorney. Thanks for joining us, David.
Thank you for having me.
So, what is it that you're studying here?
Well, I have a lot of aspects of research that I'm interested in. Currently, and in the last few years, I've been taking kind of a serious approach at how technology can motivate students specifically in the phys ed realm and in the world of physical activity, wellness, health. And so seeing if these devices are worth their investment of time and money. And some of the early data that's coming out of it is looking interesting, but a lot more questions to be asked and a lot more things ahead that I have an interest in inquiring about.
Definitely. Did you have experience in conventional schools before coming here?
Yeah, most definitely. In my previous life prior to being a professor, I was a high school phys ed teacher, and I taught students in grades 7 through 12 for 7 years before coming to U of A in 1998. I studied and did my master's degree in curriculum and instruction right here, as well as following that up with my PhD in the same area of phys ed and curriculum inquiry in the field of physical education.
So what were some of the things that happened when you were teaching and through your studies that have led you to where you are now?
Well, I'm a passionate person about the area of physical education and health and wellness. And even as a young 20-year-old, I realized that in order for students to want to buy in to be active and healthy and to gain all the benefits from a quality phys ed program, which I took pride in running, I really need to connect with all the students. And you really have to be attuned to all the needs of all the students, those that are athletic, those that are not, those that want to be there, those that don't. And I realized that it really was my goal to have every student that I taught take responsibility for their own health and well-being. And even if their parents weren't aware of maybe proper eating habits or the kind of activity they need to do, if the students themselves knew this thing, the message may be taken home. And maybe mom and dad would be influenced by their own sons and daughters. So as I got a little bit older and realized that I want to continue in the business of health and wellness and physical education and teaching, I gained more of an appreciation for the research side of things. And in the last 10 or so years I've been working post-secondary, I realized that there's a lot of questions still need to be answered, and it's work that I look forward to doing more of and continuing to do as part of my job here at the U of A.
Has the emergence of technology been a new area where you think you'll be able to reach those kids that you weren't able to before?
Yeah, I think so. I think technology is on it's like a speeding train. Technology's here, technology's been here, and technology will continue to be here for a long time. I think in the field of physical education, for example, a lot of technological devices have been integrated into schools and into PE programs, but I question often the importance of how these tech devices have been utilized, the value of them. Has there been the learning that's gotten out of it by the teachers who've thought that they wanted to do what they want to do with whatever device? I'm not so concerned exclusively that learning has to occur all the time because of the technological because of technological devices being brought into the classroom. But even if the motivation to want to learn and to be more active is increased, I think there's value there. And so for me, I have my own kids, and so kids who are using technology today, which is a very, very high percentage. I won't say 100% of students, but a high percentage of kids are using technology. They are engaged by it. They're intrigued by it. They understand it for their own needs. And as a teacher of physical education or a professor of physical education, it's imperative for us to know, why do we use the technology that we want to use? What are the main purposes? And is it worth the time and effort? Is it worth the financial investment? And do kids ultimately learn from it and are motivated to do more with it, and more being active, getting healthier, being more fit? Because there's lots of research that correlates a highly active student with good grades in all other subject areas, and less truancy and other things like that are all school related and part of the big picture.
So since this is such a new area, I don't think a lot of pre-service teachers especially are familiar. So do you have any specific examples of technology being utilized in a phys ed or a wellness setting?
Well, currently, I think a lot of people are very enamored with the whole aspect of app downloading and the utilization of apps, Android or iTunes versions. And so I'm fully aware of many teachers who are using applications in their programs for a variety of reasons. Specifically in some of the high school level classes, teachers are using applications that such as UberSense or Coach's Eye, which are utilized by the teacher or by the student to videotape another student and see what his or her skill prowess is, and for skill correction. So imagine having an iPad in your hand with UberSense or Coach's Eye downloaded onto it. Simply videotaping one of your colleagues or your friends in class, or as a teacher, your students engaging in throwing, kicking, skipping type activity, or anything else that warrants movement. Having the student immediately come around and see for themselves what they did, and using the embedded tools within that app to educate them right then and there, and to influence them, so they go back and they improve themselves because they just saw what was going wrong. That's very powerful, and I know a lot of teachers are doing those kind of things in terms of practical uses at the moment.
It's instant formative assessment.
Correct, yeah. Simple items, or I say simple, but they're not so simple. Pedometers, heart rate monitors, many teachers again are using those. My question would be, in what way are you using them? How are you maybe using them from a cross-curricular perspective? Utilizing a pedometer with grade 8 students, and then using the data in their math class or science class to make learning fun and crossing the borders of one subject to another. I don't know who all does that. I know it'd be something that I would do if I was back in the schools again, and it's certainly messages that are heard by my students when I teach them here at the U of A.
Definitely. So looking forward, where do you see your research going, or this whole field that we've been talking about?
Well, my own research interests have gained a tremendous amount of interest in technology utilization and appropriate technology utilization in the fields of phys ed and health education. So for me, I see myself continuing to evolve and to stay current with the hardware, the software, the gadgetry that's out there, and to see how it can best serve all students. Ultimately, helping teachers themselves in their teaching practice, that they evolve and always try to be the best teachers they can be. And if it leads to students being healthier and more active and more engaged and being outside all times of the year, then I think I'm on the right track, and everyone who's working with that same intention is working down the right path of what we want to accomplish.
Definitely. That seems very exciting. Thank you for joining us, David.
My pleasure. Thanks.
Hey everyone, this is Cerina. I am talking to you from the Faculty of Education. Welcome to episode 9 of Edu Life. Today we have the privilege of introducing you to Dr. Tom Dust and the lovely Mrs. Laura Dust from the Faculty of Education. So today they are here to talk to us about some tips on techniques for success. So before we delve right into that action, first of all, what is your background? Could you do a little intro about yourself? Starting with Dr. Tom Dust.
Oh, thanks, Cerina. I'm a musician initially, and came to teaching music because of my love for music. I always played in bands as a kid and then as a young man, and enjoyed that experience so much that I wanted to pass that experience along to others. And so teaching music to children in the schools was sort of a logical extension of my love of music and my felt need to pass along that love of playing music in a band to others. So I became a school band teacher.
Wow.
And then eventually that led me off to graduate studies at Indiana University, where I was privileged to study with some of the greatest musicians and teachers in the world today, and then eventually an appointment here at the University of Alberta.
That is lovely.
So that's how I got here.
Wow, you should have brought your trumpet. And what about you, Mrs. Laura Dust, about your expertise in the field of education?
Oh, well, Cerina, I started when I was 14 years old, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, the local music store in Calgary asked me to teach some of their beginning music students on Saturday afternoons. So I'm 14 years old and I'm doing lesson plans on Friday nights instead of going out with friends. And I just discovered I loved it. I love teaching. So since that time, I've either taught music privately or I've taught it in the schools, junior high school, and I've just never known a time when I haven't been a teacher, primarily a music teacher, but still find great joy after all these years in teaching. For me, it's helping students to grow. Sometimes it's the new learning that helps them to grow. Sometimes it's the process of the learning, the discipline, or sometimes it's just the connection with the student. That just gives me such great joy and still does.
Oh, wow. Well, you're both true inspirations for all students in the Faculty of Education. If you haven't met them, you definitely need to meet them. They are amazing. So my second question to you would be, there's a whole bunch of students going into IPT and APT right now as we speak. So are there any words of wisdom that you both have? Maybe you can
Well, I have just this past week finished teaching a course to the music majors in IPT. And at the conclusion of my IPT and my APT course every year, I have a handout that I pass along to my students. It's called Tom's Tips for a Successful and Invigorating Practicum Experience.
Wow.
So I think that the main point in that, I advise my students that they should work hard. Because when I speak with mentor teachers in the school system, the worst complaint I ever hear is that their student teacher may not be working hard. So my advice to student teachers is that they should work hard, they should be enthusiastic, they should be positive, and when they leave that school at the end of their practicum, they should be known as the hardest working, most enthusiastic, most positive student teacher they've ever experienced at that school.
Well, you're so positive, so I can't see how anybody else would not be positive if they're in your class. And do you have any words of wisdom for these students?
Yes, Cerina. I think student teaching is very, very valuable. There's much to be gained from it. Watching other teachers is so valuable. When you get your own classroom, you're very busy, there's only a couple prep periods in a week, you don't have that opportunity to watch. So watching is important, getting the feedback, trying to gather as many resources as you can. It's really a time, I think, where you start to formulate, mix the theory from university with the practical, and you start to decide what you want to be as a teacher. You also start to make some decisions about what you don't want to be as a teacher, which is really important. But having said that, I think there's some limitations to the experience too that should just be made known.
I'm glad you brought that up. This is great. Yeah.
Well, I mean, really and truly, it's artificial teaching. It is, and it should just be said to be that way. You're a teacher in formation. You know it, your students know it, so I really think you don't expect too much of yourself. You're in a learning situation. You're going to make mistakes, and that's part of learning. So be humble, work hard, but see it for what it is. You are forming as a teacher. And the other way it's artificial is that it's just not your classroom. It's your cooperating teacher's classroom. So you walk in and you have to follow the path that this cooperating teacher has established before you got there, the philosophy of the classroom management strategies. Maybe your cooperating teacher will even tell you what delivery techniques to use. So being artificial, I don't think that as a student teacher, you should completely judge yourself and your teaching ability based on that experience. Because I don't think you're going to really know what kind of a teacher you are until you get your own classroom and it's your baby. So it's an experience, but I don't think it should be the totality of how you view yourself as a teacher, because it takes years to become your teacher, and then you'll have your real joy in your classroom.
I am blown away right now. And right now, your whole class that I took in the summer just flashed before my eyes. So we're going to segue right into that. So could you talk a little bit about this amazing and wonderful course that you're teaching called EDSE 401? So it's Education, Secondary Education 401. And it's called exactly like quote unquote.
It is called exactly How to Teach Practical Techniques for Success in the Classroom. And by success, we mean your students' success. Which is your success as a teacher, of course. The structure of the course is condensed into 1 week. Last year we offered the course the week before the official spring session began, and then again the week before the official summer session began, which allowed students who needed to pick up a required course in spring or summer session the opportunity to do that, even though they may have taken our course. So it's a 5-week offering. We meet from 8 o'clock in the morning till 3 in the afternoon with a lunch break and a couple of coffee breaks in there. We plan lots of activities to break up those long days. We chose to grade the course as a credit, no credit course, so that students who were in a younger part of the program or an earlier part of the program would feel welcome. We didn't want them to feel they were competing for grades against students who had perhaps completed a round or two of student teaching already. So the course is graded, pass, fail, or credit, no credit, and it focuses, as the title says, on some practical techniques for, creating success for your students in your classroom.
And I think that's one that I really, really want to talk about is the fact that, it's pass, no pass, credit, no credit kind of thing, and I love that because it creates an environment where it's meaningful learning, not just teaching to the test. So it is a lovely course. Did you have any words about the course? I loved it. It was amazing. So I really encourage all students to try and look into it or try and take it. But do you have any words to add on to that?
Sure, Cerina. Maybe I'll talk about the topics that are covered in the course. And thank you for your kind words, too.
It's true.
There are five main topics. The first one is planning. There's delivery, and Tom teaches that topic, and he has for years been developing a session on teacher intensity, which he covers in delivery. There's also a topic about people principles. And this, some very, very valuable information about developing rapport and developing relationships, or helping with, problems of conflict with the players when you teach, your students, your parents, your colleagues, and your administration. So some excellent teaching or people principles in that regard. The fourth topic is questioning techniques. And this is where we teach techniques about questioning where all the students in the class are engaged. It doesn't help if you ask a question and only one person in the class is thinking about the answer. So techniques to have everybody active and engaged in the learning. And then finally, there's also a large topic on classroom management, where we provide an entire model to the students. And the premise of this model is being positive and trying to prevent behavior from occurring by many of the things you do as a teacher. And then we definitely talk about different levels of inappropriate behavior and how to deal with them, and concrete strategies on how to deal with them. But the course, we're very adamant that it is not about just dispensing information. We have opportunities for students to practice, because our real goal is that they come out after the week and they have started to develop some of the skills, the actual skills that you need in the classroom.
And I found that it's all about not just educating the mind, but educating the heart. And I can tell both your hearts are in it. So it's a very meaningful course. So on that note, why don't we go take a look and look at some actual tips for success that you can actually use in the classroom, and it's not just all about theory, you can actually use it and provide your own success, get your own success in the classroom. So why don't we go and take a look at that?
All right, the first teaching tip that we're going to work on, something I think that is very, very important for teachers, is the subject of voice. Voice, just this literal voice right here. A musician, for example, a flute player uses a flute to do the job. What does a teacher use? Teacher uses this, the voice. And we need to understand that in different teaching situations, we need to use different voices. We need to have them. And sometimes you've got to switch those voices very quickly. So, there are 4 different voices that a teacher needs. Here they are. A soft voice. It's a compassionate, it's a tender voice. A regular voice, your conversation voice. How was your hockey game on Saturday night? This is a voice we use when we're building rapport with students. But here's a really, really important voice, a strong voice. And this is a voice that a teacher needs. Now, some teachers come by this really naturally. Some teachers need to work on a strong voice. Strong voice would be used when you've got really important instruction. You need the class to listen to your instruction. Strong voice would be used when you're teaching something really important in terms of the behavior that you want to see in your classroom, or really important to use strong voice when you're reminding students of something, of behavior that you need to see in your classroom. Strong voice lets students know that what you're saying is non-negotiable and what you're saying is important and that they really do need to listen. Now, strong voice. How do you get strong voice? Strong voice is everything from top to bottom. In the voice itself, strong voice goes, your pitch goes a little lower, a little more tone in your voice. You'll speak slower. You'll speak more precisely. There'll be little spaces between those words. Economy of language. You'll use shorter words and only the words that you need to actually be using. Body posture. You'll straighten up. You'll square off. You'll face the student or students. And then your eyes too. The eyes have to say, I mean this. A little sternness maybe in those eyes. A definite decidedness in those eyes. Now, the 4th voice is angry voice. And angry voice is not something to instill fear in students, but I think knowing you have an angry voice, practicing it, also helps to move your strong voice over to this end so you have a really good strong voice. And maybe once in a year or twice in a year, hopefully not, maybe you will have to use it to show students that, well, maybe they've pushed too far. But let's have a demonstration of the voices. So let's say, Cerina, you're in my classroom and I'm providing instruction and you're interrupting the learning, you're calling out. So my response to you is, Cerina, please raise your hand if you want to speak. So I am going to demonstrate soft voice. Let's see how effective that is. So I'm giving instructions, students.
Mrs. Dust.
Cerina, please raise your hand when you want to speak. Was that very effective? No, you're a big pushover, aren't you? All right, let's do a regular voice. Let's see how effective it is. And I must preface, right? It might be effective with some students. So we're giving instruction on the board.
Mrs. Dust.
Cerina, please raise your hand when you want to speak. Was that effective? So. All right, here's a demonstration of strong voice, your most important voice as a teacher to use when you need to use it. So we're providing instruction on the board.
Mrs. Dust.
Cerina, raise your hand when you want to speak, please. There. Strong voice.